Promise nothing.
Come on.
Yeah, there's a camera on, but it's on me.
Hey, Max.
Hi, sorry, it's my wallet.
That's the first thing that comes through her voice. Hello, welcome to Real United Talk tonight. It's the Mad Marcus Monday Night Debate. We got George Kyle down here. George, how you doing this week, mate?
Very well, Marcus. Thank you.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Diedrich, if you stop fucking moving around. How you doing, mate? All right?
Oh, yeah, I'm grand.
Right, where's your headphones?
That bad already?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
you need your headphones. Mark, how are we doing? Long time no see.
Yeah, not so bad. Yeah, you?
Brilliant. Cool. Not bad, mate. Tonight, then, is going to be a very, I'm going to say, intricate debate tonight. As people say, "Hi, Chris, you're right, Chris," in the comments. George, you said on the last show that we did, there was a good comment in there that got a hell of a lot of feedback in my book about if Ollie don't win the title this season, then he should be gone and the door shouldn't hit him on the way out, I think were the words. I've got to say, a couple of people took offence to that, right?
What did you say?
I am Martin. He said if Ollie don't win the title this season, then he should be sacked, right? And the door shouldn't hit him on the way out. So, George,
What
we'll
planet
start
are
with
you on,
you.
George?
Well, hang on. Right. So, George, we'll start with you.
Yeah.
Do you want to just elaborate a bit on it and have your say on it and what your thoughts are behind it and whatnot?
Yeah. So I think we have to be very careful in terms of not allowing our expectations to be lowered. I've sort of already made another comment which sort of leads into this, I think, on another show, which was that Ollie is probably the most protected person on Twitter, for example, of any, he tends to get far more of a free ride than our other managers have done in the past, in terms of, and it almost feels like after 6 years now, the expectations that we had for previous managers, whether that was particularly Van Gaal and obviously Mourinho in terms of winning titles, we don't have those same sort of aspirations or goals for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We're sort of giving him more and more years, and I don't necessarily think that that's a sort of fair way to be judging him. I think there does need to be some kind of title attempt or title charge this season. He has been now with us managing us for over 1.5 years now, in terms of obviously the games that he's played. He has had quite a good degree of investment, and obviously has also bought very well, which I've sort of admitted is one of Ollie's sort of two greatest things that he's achieved in his managerial time with us, as well as obviously getting rid of Deadwood, which he has been excellent at. Obviously, people like Young, Sanchez, Lukaku, and so forth. But as I said, it's one of those things where I think, and this is where I sort of get. This is where I sort of get.
Already?
What's that?
George deserves capital punishment.
This is where I get quite frustrated, because I think if we asked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer himself what his targets or goals were for this season, he himself would say he'd want to win the title. That ultimately is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer won a lot of trophies with us. He does have a winning mentality, because obviously he proved that all the times that he scored so many vital and important goals for us when he was a player, that obviously changed games, won and obviously helped to win trophies, none more famous, of course, than in 1999. And yes, as I said, so if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has the standards of perfectionism and trying to win and attain high standards, which ultimately would be to win the major trophies such as the title or Champions League, then I will also align with that, and I, as a fan, and I will also say that I would expect the title win in the coming season.
Fair enough, right, Mark. Let's go at you, seeing as you haven't been on for a while. What would you say in response to that, and what are your views and expectations for the coming season?
My response to that is, George, you're a dickhead.
Right, okay, right, explain, come on.
You're just on another planet. kick him out because he doesn't win the league next year. Winning the league next year is nigh on impossible. We've got one new player. We've only got 66 points this season. We've got 2 new players in since, haven't we? Bruno and Van der Beek. They're the two players that aren't going to get us up to nearly 80, 90, 100 points that we need to win the league. We can be pushing and progress. We got 66 points this season. As long as we do better than that, maybe get some silverware on the way. It's progression. Build the team up a little bit more. Set us up for the next season. Progress again. It's not a quick fix. We've got to progress, get better every year. You can't just kick Ollie out because we're not winning the league next year. It's near on a dead cert that we're not going to win it.
Response to that, Kari? I mean, good points.
No, my response to that would be that ever since Bruno Fernandes came in, I'm pretty sure that we accrued the most amount of points out of any Premier League team since the time that he signed. So if you actually
a massive decline towards the end, though, we're showing our fitness levels.
Yeah, but the thing is that sort of football won't necessarily be the same as what it was, obviously during the COVID time and obviously the pandemic when all the games were condensed as much as they were. There wasn't that we don't in a normal season. Let's hope, God willing, that it is a normal season. Obviously, because the pandemic's showing signs of coming back. But in a normal sort of season, you won't have. I mean, obviously, Maguire and other footballers talked about it as well. They said that it was very difficult because they were playing so many games, week in, week out. I also think that players like we do need obviously other squad players to step up as well. But like I said, if you sort of extrapolate the results out that we had, and it was quite a considerable amount of the season, obviously since Bruno came in, it was probably at least a third, wasn't it? Probably actually slightly more than that actually that we had Bruno for, and we did accrue the most amount of points. So it isn't too much of a stretch to suggest that we could look to continue that for a longer period of time. And also, obviously, the second sort of point to that is: do we think that Liverpool can be as consistent as they were, obviously over the last couple of seasons in terms of recruitment?
No, I think Liverpool have peaked. They're showing weaknesses already. They were showing weaknesses at the end of the last season, and they're showing it to Community Shield last week. They are showing weaknesses. People will take advantage, and I think they've peaked. If they don't improve their team,
as well, that we have to get sort of better as well, but it's also that Liverpool have to drop, or other teams have to drop slightly, which I think they will do as well. So it's obviously in a race when you're running it against someone. It's a case of where it's not just your performance, but it's also other people and how well you perform against other people.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah,
and obviously we are starting from. Ultimately, we're all starting at the same place, aren't we? At 0 points. In August. So
right.
I think it's going to be just the final sort of point. Sorry, the final thing I would say is that our sort of main problem has been over the previous seasons is injuries to key players, and I think that's the sort of integral thing. If we don't get injuries to sort of the key players that we can't afford to lose, then that's when we can see a title charge. Because obviously Paul Pogba, who I'm a big fan of, we did miss him considerably.
Oh yeah, you've never said.
in that period, obviously, and when he came back, and obviously when Bruno came in as well, you saw the midfield creativity, and it was the midfield, obviously, because I already sort of made, just as my final point on this sort of section, is that when they did the most amount of minutes that any United player had played in the Premier League, and obviously did who played in that specific position for the most amount of minutes. Obviously, in defence and up front, we had almost our sort of first team, and as well as in goal. But obviously, in midfield, the players that placed the most minutes were Fred, McTominay, and Andreas Pereira in the 10. So that just shows you that for most of the season, we played with a very poor midfield. So if we can obviously keep Pogba, Matic, and Fernandes, and obviously Van der Beek as well coming in, hopefully he's going to hit the ground running, or at least be an able deputy. Then I'm hoping that we can challenge for the title.
Well,
you were aware though, Diedrich.
He's zoned out.
What were we talking about again?
Right, you heard them both. Right, what's your thoughts on it? George is adamant here that if Ollie is not winning the Premier League title, he's out the door.
Is this the same George that said that we should have? What was it? He said it was either the Europa League or the FA Cup. He wasn't bothered about winning it, but now you're bothered about winning trophies. So that would be my first point I'll bring up. And secondly, even the likes, you're judging it based upon lockdown form. I said that the other day. A lot of the teams after lockdown, there were some weird results that happened straight away. So we can't judge him upon that. And you got to look at it, even if we get Sancho, I still don't think it's enough to bridge the gap. It's not. We're nowhere near City. We're nowhere. I agree with what Gary Neville said the other day. The team that finishes above Liverpool will win the league, but I don't believe that we're good enough to finish above City. And you've also now got to think about the likes of Chelsea. They've just come in and just absolutely just destroyed the transfer market, so they're going to make there and about it. I don't think it's going to be as easy as everyone's making out. Just because we've got Van der Beek, which is a good signing, don't get me wrong, but it's still majorly underfunded. I mean, you said that he's been backed. He's been backed quite generously. What? I can't. Apart from what did he get? He got Bruno for 40 odd million, which he waited arguably too long to get. We only got him because McTominay and everyone got injured, so that's the only reason they got backed on that one. And in the summer transfer window, we ended up with a net spend of 70 million. So he hasn't really been backed to the hill, has he? I mean, we're looking at the Sancho situation right now, and he's not really getting backed, is he? He's got to fight tooth and nail. He didn't get Haaland. He didn't get who was that lad? Other lad who went to Dortmund? Jude Bellingham. So it's okay. I understand what you're saying about that's your expectations, but you've also got to understand that if a manager isn't getting the players that he's asking for, you can't really then say, well, you should be winning the league, because he'll just say, well, I'm not being funny, right? You didn't give me what I wanted. It's like an electrician. You want him to do the best job. He can't do the best job if his apprentice is passing him the wrong tools, can he? He needs to get the right tools to do the correct job. So I think, I mean, don't get me wrong, it would be nice. I'm not going to sit here now and say it wouldn't be nice. I think as long as we are within, say, with 8 games to go and we are within touching distance, or at least in with a shout of winning the title, I'll be happy with that, because it's progress and going in the right way. Quick fixes in football do not work. You get the likes of Mourinho's who, after he leaves clubs, it devastates them. Look at Chelsea. They haven't really looked like doing much since, well, he came in, then Conte came in, but after that, it just leaves a sour, bad taste in teams' mouths when you have instant fixes, because you end up being left with a decaying team. So instant fixes aren't going to work. So it needs to be a gradual thing. I'm not comparing him to Fergie, but he didn't win the title every single season. You got to remember that period between 2003 and 2006 where we didn't win the Premier League. It needs to be given time. I think if you don't win the title this season, but we at least challenge, I'm happy with that. The season after next, I think that's when you need to be asking questions about the title, but not for this coming season. Not yet.
Yeah,
but your expectations, Diedrich, for this season, then as long as we're there or thereabouts,
as long as we're challenging, yeah. As long as we're not like we was that. Do you remember when we finished second under Mourinho?
81 points that year.
It was the most hollow fucking second we've ever had.
Yeah, because we're still 19 points behind City.
Yeah, we were 19 points behind City, and we lost in the FA Cup final to Chelsea. I think we're at Chelsea. Yeah, Eden Hazard scored a penalty. So it was pointless. It was absolutely pointless. First place, second is the first place loser, aren't they? As certain other people say.
Well, I don't want to make it come across as us 2-on-1, George, but they don't agree with you. So what do you want to say to Diedrich's commenting? So it is slightly different to Mark's.
That's the thing, isn't it? Everyone's got their own personal opinion in terms of what they feel should be the objective. So absolutely, everyone will have a very different opinion. So even, for example, obviously with what Dedrick's saying in terms of like 8 or so games to go that you're sort of challenging or there or thereabouts and you're within touching distance and stuff like that, someone else will say that's unrealistic. So my point is that it's all just about your sort of personal opinion about what you feel like the objectives are or should be.
If what you're saying, George, is unrealistic being there or thereabouts, don't you think then winning the league?
I'm saying other people will say that he's being unrealistic as well.
But I'm not saying if he's not, sack him.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but it's still a matter of opinion, isn't it, in terms of what you feel like the objectives are. So I'm saying some other people will say that Dedrick's being unrealistic. Obviously, they say are being more unrealistic, but they'll still say because everyone's got a different opinion about what they feel.
Do you think
is,
Solskjaer's improved us?
Oh, there's a pause. Look, he's
Ooh.
stumped. He's stumped.
I'm not
Mark.
stumped. I'm thinking because it's quite a interesting question.
Should we bring back Fellaini and Lukaku and get rid of Maguire and Fernandez and stuff and just go back to
Well,
what
hang
it
on a
was?
minute,
I just think he's improved us.
Before you answer that, George, right, let me take some comments here, right? Because Chris has said we have to be, he goes by what Diedrich says, we have to be within 10 points of the leader this season. For me, if we under-invest, then managers and board need to explain. To progress, it's obvious we need players. If we don't get in players, it's on Ollie and the board. If we don't get in players, it's on Ollie and the board. Not progressing due to us not signing players is no excuse to fall this season. Time to step up. Martin says, Diedrich, get your samurai sword out. And he also says, Ed don't like trophies.
Is that a euphemism?
Ed don't like trophies. Ed likes cars and money. Ed will laugh at the judge when he ain't funny. I think a bit of a
Some
rhyme.
lyric there.
Good,
But,
no,
yeah,
it's good,
Sunday.
Charlotte.
Oh, is it? Right, okay.
Come
right,
on,
so
Marcus.
George, yeah.
You're not down with the kids?
No,
what I
mate.
would say as well in
Right.
terms of like is again it sort of depends on what your expectations are of whether United is still a big club or not. And what I mean by that is that if often with other big clubs around Europe, if a manager fails to win silverware of any kind, obviously or like major trophies, they will be sacked instantaneously. And that's
I mean, the likes of going down the Real Madrid and Barcelona route.
or most that if you think about it, we're sort of like the Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus, PSG. Those sort of we're that big a stature of club, aren't we?
No,
Yeah, but that's it. That's all
Not
we have,
anymore.
though, right? That's all we have, though, right?
You can't look at the past.
No,
we're
I
that
was
big.
just gonna
No,
say
we're
that.
not. We're not that big of a club
It's just,
anymore. That's the
it's
problem.
just the
We're that
name.
big of a commercial entity. We're not that big of a football club anymore.
Yeah, we're a big business, not a big football club, are we?
I think that's where people get lost here, isn't it? The name Manchester United still means something, but not as much as what it once did. Right. And when you look at what's going on behind the scenes and when you look at who's in charge and you think, okay, really, you're comparing Ollie to say Mourinho. Ollie's like a novice because he's not won an awful lot. You look at the season that's just finished, semi-finals, and that's basically all he's got to his name at United. But apart from clearing
I
out,
hate it when
a lot
people
of
say
debt.
that. I hate it when people say that Ollie's lack of experience doesn't make him
No, but I'm
any
just
better
making
than
an
anybody
example.
else.
I'm just making an
You get-
example here.
You get child prodigies at chess who can beat the masters who's been doing it for years and years. It's
But
just
this
because
is
Ollie's
what
only
I'm
been doing
saying.
this job for a few years doesn't mean he's not good at it.
Well,
No,
the thing
but
is
this is
about
what I'm saying,
Ole
though,
Gunnar
right?
Solskjaer is I think he's only had one. I think he's had one less or one fewer year, I should say, in management than Pep Guardiola. So
But you
Yeah,
look
but
at the
Pep's had everything he's ever wanted. Every player he's ever wanted. He just gets everything he wants every time he goes somewhere.
and that's
All he's
because
got to
of the
actually work for his money.
because of the background. Ollie's been managing out in fucking Norway and God knows where else. Pep's been out in fucking Spain. The difference is astronomical in the
You've got to
quality.
look at that, haven't you? But
Yeah.
first club to manage Barcelona, then
Yeah.
Bayern Munich, then Man City. Fuck me, I could have done
and
that.
then you look at
It's
Melbourne.
like a
You know
football
what I mean?
manager for him, isn't it?
Mark Batkin says, right, let's see where you stand on this. We need a director of football. It's so important, but we won't get one. That
Wonderful.
comes into what, the way Bayern Munich do things, the other big clubs around Europe and stuff like that. So, George, do you reckon a director of football would help Ollie going forward? Will
Not
it
so
hinder him?
in terms of like monetarily? I don't necessarily think that Ollie hasn't been backed in terms of amount of money.
Right.
Obviously, with regards to that, I think it's more the fact that United are often paying too much for certain players, and that they don't tend to get any bargains or deals of any kind. And that is where a director of football would come in, obviously, to scout better players. For example, if we do sort of use the Bayern Munich thing that you've utilised as well, they don't tend to pay that much for players. Obviously, this famous thing about the fact that their Champions League final squad or squad of 11 costs the same amount altogether as Harry Maguire. is proof positive of that in terms of like where you're spending less amount of money to get better players, or at least more quality players for better prices. And that is where obviously a director of football can come in terms of scouting or being able to pick up talents at lower prices who then go on to be good players, obviously. What I would say about the director of football is that I don't necessarily think that's going to be anytime soon. Well, obviously people shouldn't necessarily hang their hat on it for at least another few years, because that was first brought up, I think, in August of 2018, I think, director of football. After a particularly bad time. I can't even remember what that would have been. I think it was obviously after Mourinho hadn't got necessarily as backed as he wanted to do anyway, with obviously Fred and someone
That's when we
else.
came second, isn't it?
Yeah, and obviously you came second. I think it was the summer after, obviously, just before Ollie came in, obviously in that December and stuff like that. But yeah, as I said, so it's one of those things I wouldn't necessarily, if I was a supporter of Manchester United, I wouldn't necessarily, think that is going to happen, because it's already been 2 and a bit years now since it was originally, said that we were looking for someone. It still hasn't happened. So, I said, yeah.
Right, Mark, what do you think then? Director of football? Will it be a profiling, or would it work against him?
Depends on the relationship he has with the bloke. Just if they get on well and complement each other in the type of players that they want to bring in. He seems to be having a bit of an active role in the job, like Fergie did at the moment. He's calling players up, isn't he? He called Van der Beek up and had words with him before we signed him and stuff. He had a role in the signing of him.
Yeah.
I think he tried to do that with Haaland as well, didn't he? And I've got no doubts he's had words with Sancho.
Didn't he speak to the lad's parents or something, didn't he? I remember reading.
Well, Sir Alex.
He spoke to Bellingham's family as well, hasn't
he? Diedrich, then, you shaking your head about director of football.
I think if it's the right director of football, like your Paul Scotts from Leipzig and
Paul Mitchell.
Paul Mitchell, sorry. Yeah, it's Paul Mitchell and Van der Sar, then yeah. But if you're going to get somebody in as a token gesture, I don't see the fucking point. Like, I think that's why I think that's why Evra turned it down, because he literally said it's a glorified role. It's basically Woodward is giving you the role, but he's then telling you what you can and can't do. So it's pointless. You're literally just being there to fill a position, because anything he would do, if he even got involved in negotiations, it'd be a case of, right, well, I need to run it by Woodward and I need to run it by fucking Ollie. It should be a case of, right, I just need to go directly to the top now and just go, right, Ollie, I can get you this player. Would you be interested? Yeah, right, boom. I just need to ask for the money. That's it. But with Woodward, he then needs to then get involved in negotiations and stuff like that. So it'd never work unless Woodward would be willing to delegate and give power to the director of football. It's pointless.
Speaking of Ever, I really enjoyed watching him yesterday in this charity game. Ever was brilliant, just pulling off little tricks and stuff.
I don't think there'll be a director of football for at least the next 2 years.
Yeah.
So is that when you sack Ollie then, is it?
No, I mean, as in, I just.
No, it's the year after he sacked Ollie.
I feel like, I feel like it's one of those things that's just brought out on occasions when fans are a bit disgruntled with lack of signings, or there's a particularly bad mood about Ed or something like that. So they hired, was it Neil Ashton they got in for like PR and stuff like that. So, like I said, my prediction would be that there wouldn't be a director of football for the next 2 years, because we've already had 2 years and obviously it's never materialised. So.
Okay.
Do you think if we were to sack Ollie, do you think if the likes of Potts that's worked with Paul Mitchell and that before, do you think he'd have the power to say, well, I'll only come if you bring Paul Mitchell in, or some other director?
I can't quite understand why we still don't have a director of football when obviously most of the top clubs are getting, even not necessarily even if you're a top club, you still have a director.
It's because we're still stuck in the past, isn't it? That's why we've got this smaller club mentality than we used to have.
I think Brighton
stuck in the
director
past
of football as well.
Akil brings up a good point here. He says we'll have some tough fixtures in the Champions League group stage, our squad is not good enough to play a Bayern and say a Liverpool in 4 days. This season should be about strengthening the squad and closing the gap. Jamie's just turned up as well. Jamie Gaming Sports, welcome, mate.
Have we got a
Mark-
fixture on Tuesday? Not the. We've got Crystal Palace on the Saturday, haven't we? Have we got a fixture on the Tuesday? Was it a FA Cup game or something?
Luton or Reading.
Oh, is it? I looked on the Man United website. It just said TBC.
Third round of the Carabao Cup or something.
Carabao, yeah.
Yeah.
Jamie says, can he come on at some point? Of course you can, mate. Yeah, just give me a shout. Not a problem. We'll get you on. No problem. Jay Hart, get Van der Sar director of football. I
That'd be
totally agree
great.
with him.
Yeah.
It won't come.
he also says-
It wouldn't come.
I know he won't come, but
Anyone with any
fucking
sort of
later,
pedigree would literally come in, get off of the roll, and go, "Fuck off, man! I ain't doing that."
Hart also says James Rodriguez joined Everton for 22 million. I think that's a good signing, mate, for them.
Brilliant.
Good
really
signing,
good.
but I wouldn't have had him.
James
Chris
Rodriguez,
says-
you wouldn't have him?
I'd have him, mate, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably
Like-
he plays as a cam. You just signed one. You've got Bruno Fernandes. Can't have
No,
three
but
players going for one position. Number
No,
10.
because
can't,
Van der
Chuck
Beek can
fucking
work.
Matter out.
Yeah,
Get
Van der
Matter
Beek can
out.
work as the box to box.
and Lingard.
Yeah.
Fucking
3 for
get
1.
them two out, mate, and change them with him. Chris says a director of football will only work if he is competent and understands the club history and isn't blocked at making signings by the imbeciles that sign off the checks. Mate, spot on. I think that's. I think going forward here, I've got to say, Carly, I don't understand the mentality of if he don't win a title next season, he's got to be out the door. I don't get that at all, because I think if any manager should have been given time, I believe all managers should be given at least 2-3 seasons, at least.
Oh, no. I want to give Moisey another season.
Mate, I would have, just to see what happens. I really would have, just to see if he could have brought in who we wanted to bring in the summer. And if you look back on it, what harm could it have done, really? You know,
Gary
looking-
Neville wanted him to have a longer time as well, didn't he? David Moyes, I think he came out and said that he felt Moyes didn't get enough of a.
I think when you look at Ollie, he's been in the job a year and a half. He's had a pandemic to contend with. He's had fucking the outs.
Make it sound like he's
Realise,
there
Ollie,
fighting it on
I'm
the front line.
not saying that realise you're a fucking key worker.
I
Oh,
know, yeah.
no, but you know what I mean? The football's been disrupted, right?
His surgical gown.
The football's been disrupted, right? He ain't had a decent amount of time with the fucking players that he wants to bring in either. So I think bringing in these players now, he's basically made 2 signings for me at the minute, one in January and one this summer, and it ain't enough. And look, it's like Diedrich said, mate, when you look at that squad and you think to yourself, if we do end up playing the Bayerns and Liverpools within the space of 4 days, you're going to be relying on the same people again. The people
Well, you've also got to look at,
you
like,
said are shit. You know,
Well,
the
you
Freds, the Pereiras.
you've also got to look at like what George was saying a minute ago. The likes of getting you better deals elsewhere. It literally just popped into my head. Over the last 2 seasons, I mean, I know I
look
said
like
I
you're in
wouldn't.
pain.
I wouldn't. Shut up. No. I've said that James Rodriguez, although I said I wouldn't take him at United, the last 2 seasons, Bayern Munich have took James or James, as you whatever you want to call him. James Rodriguez. They've took him on loan, and then the season after they've got Coutinho on loan. Who did we manage to get on loan? Fucking Igalo.
I think they got
I
Perisic
mean-
on loan as well. I think.
Oh, you got Perisic on loan as well.
Yeah.
And then there's us scratching around between fucking Joshua
Yeah.
King and Igalo.
And Arsenal got Ceballos as well. He was a great loanee.
He's great. Yeah, he's quite a good player.
I don't rate him, mate.
It puts into context, mate, how bad things are at the club. I mean, it's
Looks like he stinks.
the fucking.
What? Can people look like this thing?
Yeah.
It's not a cartoon
That-
when they got little stink lines coming off them.
Diana Ross in Thunderdome, right? Earn it.
Diana Ross. You mean Tina
What's
Turner?
it called?
Tina Turner.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Diana Ross. Yeah, Hart says we got Falcao on loan as well, didn't we? Look at
Fucking woo!
His goal scoring record prior to joining us, I think for those like few years just prior to joining us, he was the most prolific striker by a long way.
Yeah.
In terms of like goals per game. His was even higher than, I'm trying to think there were some other really prolific strikers out there as well at that time. And he was better than all of them. His goals per game was better than all of them. But yeah, unfortunately,
The ACL at Monaco.
injuries and stuff like that.
Well, Jamie says that Donny's just coming off, so he must be playing tonight. Chris says Liverpool, Chelsea, and City owners have all invested some of their own money into the club. Meanwhile, our owners haven't put a single penny in; they just take out millions. Hart says he wouldn't put Liverpool in the same
That's
category.
right. We're still in as much debt as we were when they joined. We're still in over £700 million worth of debt.
Yeah.
Only paid the interest.
Hart wouldn't put Liverpool in the same category. All the players they bought around 50 to 60 million. Virgil van der Beek, he's put here VDB, and Allison. Right, he must be on about.
I wouldn't say the Liverpool owners, even though they are stupidly rich, like LeBron James and stuff like that. You're seeing it at the minute now with Klopp. I mean, they wouldn't pay up for Werner, and they're looking like they're not even going to get fucking Thiago.
Mate, and this is the thing, George.
Did
I think
you notice that I didn't say Thiago, I said Thiago.
George, you said this before, didn't you?
You're so
How
cultured.
can there not be any money with Liverpool winning the league and the Champions League if they can't stump up the cash for Werner and Thiago?
They were one of the
Do you have any money?
They were one of the two teams with Tottenham Hotspur as well, who tried to furlough their staff, weren't they? And then had to take a dramatic U-turn, obviously, when the pandemic broke. So, and obviously, I think Arsenal also have laid off quite a lot of staff as well. I saw.
While they were there up front line.
Ollie was on the front line, wasn't he?
But so it's quite conceivable that I think all sort of clubs are struggling without that sort of match day revenue that they would otherwise get, which they haven't had obviously for like half a season or potentially more than that. And we are seeing, obviously, as Dedrick's pointed out, they are seeing that obviously Liverpool particularly weren't able to get Werner and might not be able to get Thiago as well, and having to sort of potentially sell. I think Wijnaldum, isn't it, to Barcelona? I think was the original what I saw. They might have to try
looking for Goldbridge
to get some funds. But I did obviously just on Thiago.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe.
There was someone that pointed out or said that they feel like he might be the signing of the summer in terms of whoever cut he goes into the team of. He'll be the one that sort of beds in of any sort of summer signing. He'll be the one that beds in quickest and makes the most amount of impact. And I kind of agree as well, which is why I although it's likely obviously he's going to Liverpool, I really do want him for ourselves because I feel like he'd be an incredible signing.
Kylie, I gotta say, mate, a lot of your people that you want, I just don't think there's no chance of United getting them. I really don't.
We know that. We know that.
Check out the TikTok roundup. That'll give you an opinion.
It's a
There
shameless
was
plug.
there was a
Shameless
commentator,
plug.
wasn't there? Obviously, that said that
Real United Talk is on TikTok these days, so check it out.
there was a commentator, I think, in the game, in obviously whichever game Spain were playing. There was a commentator that did say that Thiago, they were considering bids, I think, for Liverpool and Manchester United as well. So I think we are in for Thiago, or at least obviously we have had things about how, again, as we've sort of spoken about, that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's had a talk with him.
How can we be in for Thiago when we're in for Sancho? Ed don't do two deals at once, mate. It's one or the other. Right? You should know that as well as I do. Come on, he's not multitasker, is he?
Well, he's got to multitask now. He's not.
He ain't fucking doing nothing.
He hasn't got
It's not
the
just
time.
Ed, though.
He hasn't got the
Not just
time to
Ed.
do work on one deal at once.
There's Matt
He's
Judge
got,
as well. He does the job as well.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's a bit of a prick outside.
He got
Reggie. I really want Reggie on as well. Obviously, the left back, because obviously we all know what my thoughts are on Luke Shaw. And so
But you want the other lad, the American one, Boyne.
Alphonso Davies.
We can't game, can we? I mean, if I was in charge of United's checkbook, whatever Bayern wanted for Alphonso Davies, it'd be paid instantaneously and get him. But unfortunately, I'm not in charge, so we have
So
to
let's
get.
look at the list here, then, boys. Right, Sancho, Upamecano, Reguilon, and there was one more,
Thiago.
Thiago. Right,
Are
reckon
they just
we're
all
only getting-
George's signings?
No, seriously, I reckon we're only getting 3 in total, right? So you pick 2 out there because we've already got Van der Beek. So pick 2.
What about that other
Oh.
defender?
Up from
If I'm
Ricardo
picking
and
those-
Sancho, innit?
I reckon up Meccano and Reguilon. I think.
Really?
it's good.
You think we need a left back
I-
more than we need a right winger?
I don't matter whether I
Oh.
think that's the 2 that he's going to get. I think
I
that's
would
the 2 he's going to
say-
get.
What about the Is it Marseille centre back?
If I'm
Who's that?
Balachiel.
Shield. Is he out the window now? Is he not? We're not
I
bothered
don't,
about him, or
I
is he
don't
still?
think we were in for him. I don't. I think that was just.
Corey, you know everything, don't you?
I mean, as in, I don't. We heard a lot. We've heard a lot about Meccano. There was quite a lot of talk about him, where RB Leipzig were, obviously trolling United fans by putting like little, in case you missed it, or whatever, about the fact he's re-signed a deal and stuff like that. It's very. You could easily make an argument of those 4 players, and you're saying only 2 of them will bring it. You could easily make an argument for any 2 of those 4.
Have you got now?
That should be. It should be.
Werthers.
in there.
Pat Werthers.
I would say for
Who's
me,
he?
yeah, it has to be Sancho and Upamecano.
Right, okay. Good. Mark, who do you think we're getting then? Out of them 4?
What about
Because
Black and Decker?
Paxton Daka.
Patson Daka.
Your mate Black and Decker.
Paxton Daka.
You've got sauce, haven't you?
I have.
He could proper drill in a shot at him, can't he, apparently?
And that's the thing as well.
Gets hammered on a night out though.
I've read as well. Ollie Favour's a striker as well. He's desperate for a fucking striker. None of them in there are strikers.
It's definitely Josh King.
Oh,
You think? Well, Callum Wilson went to Newcastle today, didn't he?
Yeah, but
Tom Brady.
20 million. I've
Josh
seen him.
King just never goes away.
Oh
I
my
wish he
god!
would.
But the rumours last season of us getting the the Geordie, that never went away for ages, and we never got him.
Sean Longstaff.
Longstaff, that's the one.
Do you know what it is? The funny thing about Sean Longstaff
Good job we
is,
didn't get him. Good job we
up
didn't get him.
here, because obviously I live up this way. I'm a short corner for anyone who didn't know. I live in Newcastle.
I live up this way.
Shut your mouth. I'm talking. I'm not. No. I insist. You let me speak. No. Actually, so obviously, I've got a few mates who are season ticket holders, and half of them were saying to me, "Why are you not looking at this guy again? Why is it? Why is it you want to buy him?" I'm like, I don't fucking know. So I was asking him like, what? Because obviously, I don't watch Newcastle a lot. What? Tell me something about his game. Tell me, like, is he apparently like Carrick and that? Or they're like, no, nowhere near as good as Carrick.
I only
think
had to
his
see him,
ginger brother was the better one, wasn't
twice, and I knew that he was crap. So I'm not quite sure why we're scouting him. It's one of those things, isn't it? A lot of the time with English talent, is they are overhyped. I remember Dele Alli a few years ago was talked about as the next Frank Lampard because of his sort of goal scoring exploits. And obviously he's fallen off a cliff, hasn't he? Really, because obviously
I wish you would. I hate him.
Is that
It
the
was
one
a
that
call.
Fergie said to Mourinho? He should get?
Sign. Yeah. So, no. Well, to be fair, Ferguson didn't get it right every time, did he? He did sign Bebe, and all the time.
You got Phil Jones as well.
Jemba
No, he
Jemba.
just- No, he
Mark-
just said that Phil Jones was good. Didn't he?
Mark Batkin says, "I've just sent a message to Jeff Bezos saying I'll
Carol
take out
Baskin?
Amazon Prime if
Carol
he buys
Baskin?
United." What?
Did you say Carol Baskin?
No.
Mark Batkin.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
you said Carol Baskin.
You need to clean your ears out, you.
He's fucking.
Killed her husband, whacked him.
Jay Hart said he don't need to see up your nose, Mark. Chris has gone for Sancho and Upamecano if we only get 2. Akil brings up a good point here. If we're in for
He always
Thiago,
does.
why can't we be interested in Partey as well? Makes more sense considering the balance and
Partey
the
is
roster to our midfield.
That's one that we've not mentioned. Partey
Yeah.
would be a great signing.
Incredible. It almost makes another one of the Don Van de Beek thing, isn't it? It makes too much sense. 50 million is literally waiting. It's not like Atletico are saying we're not prepared to sell. They're literally saying to Arsenal every day, give us the 50 million and you can have him. So why aren't we going, how can we have him?
I think the 2 signings that we'll get of those 4 you mentioned, I think the ones we'll get are Reguilon and Sancho.
I'd be
You
happy
still
with.
getting Sancho?
Yeah.
I'd be
Still
happy
with
with
the
that.
centre back in
All this
Partey.
time, you're still believing.
Well, I'll still be saying it and for another 28 days or whatever it is until the 5th of October when it starts.
I'd be happy with that, and if we got rid of Shaw,
Got rid of
No.
Shaw.
yeah, I
I
can't
think Shaw
stand
could
it.
tuck. I think he could tuck into centre back.
I don't know what he does. I don't know Shaw's job. I
Oh,
generally don't. He's such annoying. Bombs forward, but then as soon as he gets to that byline, it's like even he don't know where that ball's going to go. It's basically Russian roulette.
Yeah,
The
100% get rid as well, yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of Antonio Valencia. Gets to the byline and then just screams it across and hopes it goes somewhere.
He really
Sure,
gets the
he's got
byline.
Parsons
He cuts
back.
in. He cuts in too much.
He cuts in at on the same side as Rashford as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've got rather than
that's
going on the
annoying bit. He
outside,
should
they
go round-
both
he
they
should-
both
yeah.
go in.
He should go round the outside.
Mm.
Like those two
Trailer
trailer park
girls
goals.
go round the outside.
Right, well, on that note, we shall call it a night. Thanks for coming on, George, and
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
backing up what you said and everything. I hope you didn't feel like you was outnumbered or anything.
No,
You know, it's just Mark is coming on.
Yeah,
Coming
I'll
again
be
soon.
I'll be streaming on Twitch in about 10-15 minutes. You're
Okay,
on there
fine.
with me, aren't you?
Yeah, what you playing?
I'm gonna start off with some Resident Evil 2 and probably
Again?
play a bit of Alan Wake and stuff. Yeah, I need to get it done. Need to get them finished.
You've done it 19 times.
I know I've completed it a few times, but it's one of the best games ever made.
Right, Diedrich, cheers for coming on, mate. I know you're
No worries.
Yeah, are you coming on Skype as well?
No,
will
not
do, mate.
tonight.
I'll jump on.
Century duty today.
You're gonna be on
Yeah.
in the chat though on me stream.
You bet I am.
No nasty comments.
Jump on
Right.
some more extreme. He's got a robot that reads out his comments. So
Don't
you'll
forget
read
to
out
like, share,
anything.
subscribe. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And if
Right,
you're in my
cheers
chat,
for
keep it
watching,
clean.
guys. Akhil, Chris, Jamie, Mark, Harty. Who else?
If you haven't
was there?
already,
Martin.
Download TikTok and follow Real United Talk.
Hope you enjoyed the show. Bit of a lively one tonight. Yeah, thanks for joining, and see you all again soon. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.